Mr. Zeldin, you've only been at the EPA for a few months, but in that time, you've done more to dismantle this agency than probably all of your predecessors put together. That may be a source of pride for you, but it's not for the American people. You've unlawfully terminated grants without justification. You've fired and pushed out some of the best scientists who inform EPA's decision-making. You refuse to spend money that Congress has appropriated to the EPA by law. And you've launched a pro-polluter effort to delete dozens of environmental protections. On top of all this, you've launched an effort to overturn California's Clean Air Act waivers that improve the quality of air breathed by 40 million Californians and by millions more in other states who have adopted California's highest standards. That effort, for which my colleagues have decided to eliminate the filibuster to achieve, is not exactly what anyone would call cooperative federalism. But it's your budget that's the ultimate proof of your priorities. You propose cutting America's environmental agency by 55%, meaning that in your view, and that of President Trump, more than half of the environmental efforts of the EPA, more than half of the efforts to make sure Americans have clean air and clean water are just a waste. They're just a waste. Meaning that Californians and people all over the country, when they breathe the air, thanks to your good work, it'll mean there's more diesel and more other particulate matter in the air. When they drink a glass of water, they may not be able to see it, but this water that Americans drink is going to have more chemicals like PFAS, forever chemicals in their water. This will be your good work. I want to be very specific about the legacy you're going to leave if you're successful in eliminating half of our efforts to clean our water and our air. Your legacy will be more lung cancer. It'll be more bladder cancer. It'll be more head and neck cancer. It'll be more breast cancer. It'll be more leukemia and pancreatic cancer, more liver cancer, more skin cancer, more kidney cancer, more testicular cancer, more colorectal cancer, more rare cancers of innumerable varieties. That will be your legacy. I don't know that that's a legacy that anyone should want to have. My kids are going to be breathing that air just like yours. My family's going to be drinking the water just like yours. We may not be able to pinpoint just who gets cancer because you've done away with half the budget of those looking out for our clean water and clean air. But it's going to be somebody's kids, it's going to be somebody's family. To put this in more specific terms, there are 22 grants frozen by the EPA focused on improving health and reducing pollution, many of which directly impact children. For example, one project in Santa Ana, California provided funding to help detect and prevent lead poisoning in children. According to the census, about 10% of the population in Santa Ana are under the age of 9. With a population of about 310,000 people, that means that 31,000 children are at risk of lead poisoning in Santa Ana without this funding. What is it about this grant that you and EPA believe is problematic enough to freeze this funding and put potentially 31,000 children at risk?
Senator, who is the grant applicant?
This is to the city of Santa Ana.
You have the biggest state, so we're going to have to go through every single list of the grant. Well, by the way, with that wind-up, by the way, I understand that you were an aspiring fiction writer. I see why.
Oh, yeah. Well, I understand your view that you can cut half of the agency and it won't affect people's health or their water or their air. That, to me, is a big fiction, Mr. Zeldin.
You forgot about the fact of cleaning up
I have to think,
LA
Mr. Zeldin, I think, Mr. Zeldin,
if
your children were drinking water, if your children were drinking water in Santa Ana, Mr. Zeldin, maybe you wouldn't be so cavalier about whether there was lead in their water. Maybe you would give a damn instead of coming in here and suggesting that any grant that takes lead out of the water must be waste, fraud, or abuse because you need the money for a tax cut for rich people because you're totally beholden to the oil industry. You could give a rat's ass about how much cancer your agency causes.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Today's hearing on Capitol Hill got heated as Congressman Adam Schiff delivered a blistering critique of an EPA official, accusing him of gutting environmental protections and putting public health at risk. If you care about clean air, safe drinking water, and the health of future generations, this is a story you need to hear. And before we get started, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss our breakdowns of the biggest political moments shaping our country. Congressman Schiff's remarks targeted recent EPA actions under the Trump administration that he says dismantled decades of environmental progress. Schiff accused the agency of terminating grants without proper justification, forcing out top scientists who guide EPA policy, refusing to spend funds Congress legally allocated, rolling back dozens of environmental protections, including California's Clean Air Act waivers. According to Schiff, the proposed EPA budget would slash funding by 55%, which he argues would leave Americans breathing dirtier air and drinking more contaminated water. Subscribe if you want ongoing coverage of how federal budgets impact your daily life, including the air you breathe and the water you drink. Schiff made his criticism personal and specific, warning that the cuts could lead to higher rates of multiple cancers, including lung, bladder, breast, and even rare cancers. He stressed that pollutants and toxins often go unseen but have devastating long-term health effects. One of the most urgent examples he gave was a frozen grant to Santa Ana, California. The funding was meant to help detect and prevent lead poisoning in children. Schiff noted that with a population of around 310,000, and 10% under the age of 9, about 31,000 children could now be at greater risk. We break down these local impacts so you understand how national policy decisions trickle down to your neighborhood. Subscribe so you don't miss these deep dives. When pressed for details on why the Santa Ana grant was frozen, the EPA official deflected. Schiff accused him of being more concerned with corporate interests and tax cuts for the wealthy than with protecting children's health. The exchange ended with Schiff saying that if the official's own children were drinking potentially lead-contaminated water, he would not be so dismissive. It is a fiery example of the broader political battle over environmental policy, where science, health, and industry interests collide. If you want more breakdowns of these high-stakes moments in Congress, make sure to subscribe. This hearing was more than just political theater. It is a fight over the basic right to clean air and safe drinking water. Schiff's accusations may have been blunt, but they reflect a debate that affects millions of Americans. Whether you see this as accountability or partisanship, the stakes are undeniably high. If you value fact-based reporting on the issues that matter most, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because stories like this deserve your attention.